install 23 lights along it. This is money that's been provided by the state as in a bond bill that was sponsored by Senator Kramer and Delegate Stewart. No relation, I guess? No, okay. Just checking. And if it's approved here, it'll go to the full council a week from tomorrow, and if that's approved, then DOT will be able to get the project finished by the end of the calendar year. And I'm recommending approval.
I have no objection to this change, recognizing the importance of street lighting in so many things, including achieving our Vision Zero and just making our roads safer for everybody. Any comments?
Okay. With that, let me do a little bit of an overview. First of all, what we're covering today in item 2 are the amendments that the executive sent over on January 17th. Of course, we received more amendments on March 15th, which we're not covering here except for the Observation Drive project, which we'll talk about later. These other projects will be covered when we do the operating budget in April. As a result of the January 17th changes, you'll see at the top of page 2 what each of the agencies and areas within the county government would be seeing in the way of change from the approved CIP, and all areas are up except for transportation, which is down by 5.4%. In terms of, in Table 2, you'll see the program transportation funds by category, and you see that the overwhelming percentage of it is for mass transit projects. That's mostly BRT and the ride-on fleet replacement. You also see largish sections of the program for ped bikes and for highway maintenance. The Planning Board reviewed the recommended CIP from the executive in February, and their comments are attached, and I'll make reference to them as we go along. With that, we'll go into the projects on page 3. First, what I call consent amendments. These are really all projects which are very technical in nature. Those 11 bulleted items on page 3, they're all either closeouts or changing in funding sources, but not changing the scope, not changing the timing of any of these projects. And unless any of you want to pull any of these out to talk about it, I recommend approving them just as the executive sent them.
I appreciate the delineation here, and if anyone has any questions who's following this, I think they're all explained in the packet. I have no additional questions. Okay, so approved.
And there are 2 more amendments included in the same category, but there are some additions here. One is for the Purple Line project. This is the project where the county was required to put up $40 million of its own money towards the construction of the Purple Line Light Rail project itself, as well as to put together the right-of-way that had not yet been assembled, and also to provide some money for supervision of the project from the county's point of view. Because the project has been delayed, the executive is recommending an increase of $400,000 for supervision by county staff for another couple of years because the project's been delayed a couple of years. Plus, there's some easements for related culvert replacements, which cost an additional $170,000. Again, it's part of the requirement of the county to put together the right-of-way for the Purple Line in this section. And I'll just mention the other one, which is related. The Bethesda Metro Station South Entrance, also a Purple Line related project. Same thing as the first project, the Purple Line, where because it's been delayed by a couple of years, DOT needs more money to be able to provide the funding for staffing to supervise that project for another couple of years, which is another $400,000. So those 2 sets of amendments I'm recommending approving as well.
So later in today's committee hearing, we will have a deeper dive into the Purple Line. And so right now with these 2 budgetary items, let me ask Director Conklin, the supervision, and I think, is that the word that you all have used to request these positions?
That's the line item that's in the project description form, planning, design, and supervision, and we're in the supervision phase of it. but it's more activity than that. It's
Can you elaborate as to what these positions actually do?
liaison with the community on construction-related issues and coordination with the team to resolve those items, and also the activities around the review and of the constructed works as they're being completed.
One of the things I just want to be mindful of as we take up the CIP and in a few weeks' time take up the larger operating budget as well as duplication of effort, and make sure that we're not unnecessarily adding staff or full-time equivalents or even part-time equivalents in some instances when either the state or another partner are doing the same work. And that's not the case here.
I think there's duplication here. No.
Okay.
Many of our staff are actually, the portion of their position is charged off to the CIP. This would actually give them the wherewithal to charge their time for work spent either review and design plans, approving design plans, where we're the authority that has jurisdiction, as well as the field inspection. We have arrangements worked out with the state where they provide a third-party inspector, but there is some certain activity that we have to inspect for as well.
Clearly, there is a need for community engagement and for working with our businesses and our residents along that corridor, because the frustration and the confusion are high. And so I think this is good use. I'll support it, but just wanted to understand better the role of those positions.
I just want to underscore the community engagement piece. I know we'll get a presentation later, but I think we need to, as the project gets delayed, continue and even maybe increase with the outreach to our businesses and residents, because the disruption it is causing in many of the areas is, and the prolonged disruption is really hard on many of them. So I thank you for bringing this to us, and hope we're able to engage the residents and businesses.
Approved without objection?
Okay, the next item is sidewalk and curb replacement. It's on page 4. Is really this project's in two parts. The main part of it is the money that's used by the county directly to replace sidewalks and curbs that need to be replaced because they're broken or out of date. And that the executive is not recommending any change to that part of the project, which is $6.2 million a year. However, traditionally, we've also budgeted about $500,000 a year in addition to this, funded by what's called contributions. And what this really is, in the past at least, is that as DOT goes through a neighborhood, oftentimes they have the opportunity to replace the driveway apron, which crosses the curb and the sidewalk. And it's up to the resident as to whether they want to have DOT do that work. In the past, DOT would do it because, and they would opt for DOT to do it because it would be cheaper for DOT to do it than if the individual homeowner were to contract it separately. And they're in the neighborhood anyway, so it would be less disruption. However, in the last few years, particularly the last couple of years, we've seen a very much of a decline in people opting for that, partly because the prices that DOT is now getting for materials and labor isn't that much different than what's available in the private sector. And so what the executive was recommending is basically stripping out that $500,000 a year in contributions. So it doesn't affect the county, the budget in terms of what the county can afford. It just recognizes that there's no longer really much in the way of participation from residents in having their driveway aprons replaced. However, there's probably still some that would opt for that, probably less than $100,000 a year. And so what I'm recommending here is that although you don't change the expenditures in the project, you take the $500,000 out per year, you appropriate an additional $100,000 in FY24 so that if some residents decide they do want to have their aprons, DOT has the authority to actually spend the money. County governments and even the agencies cannot spend money unless the money's been appropriated. So it's not just enough to have money in the CIP in terms of expenditures, but it actually has to be literally appropriated. So that's why I'm recommending, and talk with OMB, they agree, that the way to handle this is to show a $100,000 higher appropriation in FY24. So the PDF would show $5.8 million rather than $5.7 million. Otherwise, totally concurring with the executive in his recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Orland. So this is for replacement of sidewalks and curbs. We know that there is a very long wait list for the installation of brand new sidewalks. Can you share what the wait, if there is a wait for replacements for this program? Yeah.
It's Monday morning.
Well, let me ask it in a more simple way. Is there a waiting list?
Yes, there is. I was trying to remember the number of requests that we get in a given year versus our capacity. And I know our capacity is around 15 projects a year, and the number of requests is in the hundreds. But I couldn't, what my brain was spinning was trying to get to the exact number. But we can get that for you.
I've shared this before, and we'll be sharing it further, reiterating it during the general operating budget. But one of the concerns I have with our sidewalk program is the question of how the projects come to be. What is the queue? How do people move up in the queue? And recognizing that there are some communities where there are great debates about these programs, and there are some areas where there is near universal agreement, and recognizing the differences in the communities and the needs. And so something we'll talk a little bit more when we get into the operating budget, but clearly this is an important program, and I agree with staff recommendation.
No, I was just, thank you to the chair. Actually, those were my notes going through the packet. I was actually going to request if we could have a presentation on just the whole process. We, exactly as you said, get a lot of requests. The people ask us, so what's the process? How long? Some communities, it's like, yes, we all agree, let's put these in, and others are very divided by the idea of sidewalks. So I think I did not know those numbers, that we only are able to complete about 15 projects and getting hundreds of requests a year. And I think, as the chair also noted earlier, moving forward on our Vision Zero, initiative and everything, sidewalks are key to that. So I'd welcome further conversation.
We had a briefing, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to add, up in our area, there we have a lot of HOAs, and there's just a lot of confusion as to who's responsible for these sidewalks. And so I think having a thorough understanding would be great.
Let's put a pin on that when we take up the general operating budget and that particular line item that we go into some of the specifics.
Well, I should say that the new sidewalks were paid for out of the CIP, not out of the operating budget. So most of the work that we're talking about here is CIP related. The other thing is that Mr. Glass asked early last year for a briefing to T&E on the sidewalk program and the process, and we'd had that in September, I believe it was. And what I can do is share that with all you again, see what they presented, and then see if you want to continue to have another session on that, which is fine, of course. But I just want to make sure you knew that we had that briefing just less than a year ago. And I don't know if anything's really changed. I mean, we do have a long backlog on really all these infrastructure maintenance areas.
The people have changed.
The people have changed. I get it. I totally. I just make sure you see the briefing first, and then we go from there.
Just a little bit of information. There have been a number of changes in that program over the last couple of years in both how it's administered and how the requests are screened to try to make sure that we're doing them effectively. And as we're preparing for the FY25 CIP, the full CIP, we are looking at the program and a number of related programs to see how we can make them more effective as a whole rather than the individual stovepipes of each of those programs.
Great.
The committee's okay with this recommendation?
With that?
Okay, the next project is Dennis Avenue Bridge replacement. This has been a project in the CIP for a number of years. It's also related to a DEP project for basically flood control in that same area. This is in Wheaton, east of Georgia Avenue. The project's cost has increased by about $1.5 million, almost a 20% increase, due to an anticipated utility relocations, and because now the design is finally mostly done, there is an updated construction cost estimate as well. Construction has also been delayed by a year because of the need to redesign. And so it would start in the spring of 2024 and completed that fall. In other words, be done not this year but next year. The bridge will be closed to traffic during December of 2024, and I recommend concurring with the executive on this.
No objection.
Okay, Burtonsville Park and Ride improvements. County completed a feasibility study that had been paid for by a state bond bill, and the state also provided another $4.5 million to design the garage. This is up at basically where the flash service starts in Burtonsville, on the west side of Route 29. It's also adjacent to a shopping center, so this would help that as well. So again, this is all state money, and recommending approval as the executives recommend.
Our appreciation to the District 14 delegation for coming through with those funds, and we'll support you.
Okay. And then there's a new project recommended by the executive for a new transit maintenance depot. The Nicholson Court, which is the third depot in White Flint, is basically coming to the end of its lease in 2027. And extending the lease is not an option. The space isn't big enough for what's needed for ride-on growth, as well as for the infrastructure needed for zero-emission buses. And so there has already been a program of requirements been completed for a new depot, but you still have to design it and figure out where it's going. And so the execs recommend $2 million in FY24 to do both of those things. I recommend approval of that.
Just a quick question regarding the maintenance depots. How many are there throughout the county? 3. Right. Just wanted to confirm that. So Silver Spring, this North Bethesda area, and then up in the Gaithersburg, Montgomery Village. Yeah, right, Crabs Ranch, right.
The noteworthy item is the one we need to replace. We're in a lease that ends in 2027. And it's not capable to do electrification at that depot.
Without objection?
Okay, the next section, or the rest of the packet, has to do with projects the executives recommending deferral for fiscal reasons. Again, there's actually 1 or 2 more in his March 15th amendments, which we'll talk about in April, but these deal with the ones we got back in January. It's been typical for not just this county executive, but the prior county executive to defer these projects, partly because, mainly because they're lower priorities to the executives. And also, coincidentally, just about all of these, I think, in fact, maybe all of these were initially put forward by the council. So there's a stance that happens really every year where the executive recommends delaying, the council will recommend not delaying, but then at the end of the day, you end up delaying it, some of these projects, by part of what the executive is recommending, sometimes more, because you have to face the same fiscal math as the executive does. You have to stay within the spending affordability box. And so you see the chart on the middle of page 5 for these 9 projects, which I've listed, where when construction was initially budgeted to start, what the construction start is in the CIP that was approved last May, and what the executive is recommending now would be the start date for construction. And see, in some cases, it's a delay of a year or 2, some years, some cases, one extraordinary case in the way of Falls Road, it's been delayed to this point by 14 years, and the executive is recommending 2 more years. And so my point, in all these projects, I'm recommending more or less approval on the approved CIP schedule. I'll point out the exceptions in a minute. Because at some point, even if there are lower priorities compared to other things, why are they in the CIP unless you're going to do them? You can only, really should be delaying things a bit without not, basically following through on the commitments that the council has in putting it in the CIP in the first place. In the end of the day, you're probably going to end up delaying several of these anyway, but at least as a starting point, I'm recommending that not delaying them. And I'll go through them each individually, and you can decide what to do on each of them.
Glenn, just 1 second.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Dr. Orland.
No, that's all right. That's fine.
Observation Drive, that it's been delayed again to 2028, the construction start.
That's right. The table here represented what he sent over on January 17th, and I was going to talk about Observation Drive is now actually 2 years later. It's FY28.
You're going to go through each
I'm
item?
going to go through each one individually, yeah. Okay, Goldsboro Road Sidewalk and Bikeway. This project reconstructs Goldsboro Road between River Road and MacArthur Boulevard. It adds basically a shared use path on the north side and a sidewalk on the south side. This has been delayed 3 years so far, and the executive recommended delaying it 2 more years. Just for construction start in FY30. I'm recommending, as I mentioned before, not delaying this one at all. And I'll point out that Councilmember Friedson has a memo, it's in the packet, where he's recommending not delaying any of the bike ped projects in his district. This is one of them, and he's not recommending delaying. So I guess my recommendation would be the same as his, which is not to defer this project.
What might be easier, or let me ask you this, as we work to reconcile all these items, we could go through each one and make the recommendation, or receive the briefing and hear the thoughts on the how they would be reconciled in total.
We don't know how they'll be reconciled, frankly. That happens, we'll have an initial reconciliation, we think, in mid-April, and then a final one in May. What would be useful, I think, is if you could signal how strongly you feel about these projects, each of them individually. Do you feel this is one, no delay at all, don't do it. The other one you could say, well, or you could say, rather not delay it, we'll see where we are at reconciliation. I mean, that sends a message.
Sure. Well, I think I can speak for the committee. I won't, but I think I can, in saying that they're all important projects, clearly, right? And they were all put on in the CIP at some period of time because of a worthy goal. As the CIP and the amount of money and the other needs continue to evolve, it doesn't lessen the importance, but it makes it tougher for us to accommodate all those needs. I recall in years past looking at each of these projects and the cost-benefit analysis, the cost per mile, the cost per X unit varied greatly. And I think this was one of the particular items that the cost per mile far exceeded many other projects, if that is a correct recollection.
I don't remember ever actually creating that data point, but...
Well, I don't think it was a chart. I think it was back-of-the-envelope math, right? Director Conklin?
That was discussed as these projects have been before the committee at different times, and the first project, you kind of have to look at them one by one to...
And that's why I was, okay.
The first one is obviously an expensive endeavor for that link between River Road and the Bethesda area next to a stream, going to be challenging to implement. So there's those considerations with each of these projects.
Right, because on their face, they're all important, and we can justify the needs for every single one of them. But as we're trying to make the dollars out of and cents work, looking at it through that lens of cost-benefit analysis, I think is important for the conversation.
So what are your druthers right now in terms of what to recommend as a committee?
Well, keeping it on the list, Councilmember Balcom.
So, yeah, I think it's difficult to look at each project individually because they're all important individually. I think it's a totality. If I had my druthers, we would do them all. It's a matter of when we get to reconciliation whether we can do them all. So I think that idea of keep it on the list for now.
I would say keep it on the list, for sure.
Okay. I mean, having participated in 33 reconciliations, I can guarantee you that some of these will be delayed. but we'll figure that out as we go along. I should say further delayed. Bradley Boulevard improvements. This project's been around for a few years now. It's in 2 parts. It would build a 4-foot wide bike lane in each direction, in-road bike lane, a 10-foot wide shared use path on the northeast side, and a 5-foot wide sidewalk on the southwest side. This is between Goldsboro Road and Wilson Lane. The project, it's in the 2 phases, but the executive is recommending delaying each phase by 2 more years. And Lee Kaiser, a resident of the area, who's in the audience and was a former senior fellow or still? Yeah. Is recommending not delaying the project. And I also agree in not recommending deferring the project, as Councilmember Friesen also would say.
I will continue saying that we should not delay the project.
Okay. All right, North Bethesda Metro Station Northern Entrance, formerly the White Flint Metro Station Northern Entrance. Here, the state gave the county money to do 100% of the cost of the design of this new entrance, which is on the southeast corner of Rockville Pike and Old Georgetown Road, basically at the north side of the current metro station. And that work is going to be done in the next 2 fiscal years, fiscal years 24 and 25. However, the council has programmed only 25% of the cost for land acquisition and construction for the balance of it starting in FY26, with the hope, and more than a hope, we've actually requested this, that the state and WMATA come up with the 75% difference. We've asked that now for the last couple of years, have not received any commitments to that effect. The executive is recommending delaying the construction, land acquisition and construction expenditures by another year. So construction wouldn't start at the earliest until FY27 instead of FY26. I'm not recommending deferring the project because we still have 2 more years to go to see whether or not we can get state money to pay the difference, the other 75%. And actually, it's more than that, because when I say 75%, it was 75% of what the cost estimate was for construction a few years ago. And we've learned recently that WMATA's estimate of the cost of this project has also jumped by about $14 million. So it'll be quite a bit more. But short of sort of giving up on the schedule here, I'm recommending not delaying this, not changing the cost estimate yet, leaving the design money in 24 and 25, having that done, and then see where we are in the next year and 2 years. This was one of the priorities in your letter that you sent with the executive to the state asking for funds. We believe the state should be putting up most of the money for this.
So
short of it is, I'm not recommending deferring the project.
I will quickly defer to Councilmember Stewart, who now represents that area and wrote a letter in support of it. But Director Conklin, preempting our response, do you want to explain why you've requested this deferral?
Yes, this is an important project, and WMATA is planning to issue their development RFP in April. It's going to be before the board. There's been some preliminary engineering work by WSP on behalf of WMATA to try to understand the best way to sequence this design and construction, assuming that there's a building built on this corner. And their preliminary findings, I don't think they've published them yet, are that the best way to do that is to design the station in concert with the overbuild of a building. And a building on that corner, I think, is very important to the overall site and creating visibility of that site, because otherwise it's masked by the retaining wall for the WMATA tracks, and the head house will sit in front of that, so it won't have that same impact. So the reason for this was to try to let that development process catch up, and ultimately the design of this facility has to be what WMATA, as the owner of the facility, is going to want. So we're trying to be better coordinated with their plans, and have started talking to them about grant applications to support this project in the next cycle of federal grants. It obviously didn't happen this time. We had other grants that we put forward that you'll hear about later in this packet, but we're initiating those conversations with them now.
Thank you, Director Conklin. And Director Orland, as we're going through this, using your guidance on whether or not we want to say keep it in or strongly keep it in, this is a strongly. As Councilmember Friesen and I wrote a letter, and I appreciate, Director Conklin, your points on this. I also think it sends a message on delaying this to our partners who we've been talking about the development of this metro station. In addition to our state partners, this was also part of our federal request for earmarks, and I think it's very important that we keep this in the CIP as stated, so that we show the commitment of the county to this project. So I would strongly recommend that we keep it as is.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the strong advocacy that you and Councilmember Friedson are showing, and that he and others have shown. I mean, this is the chicken or the egg question, and every year it comes back up. Should we do it? Do we wait for WMATA to do it? WMATA is not going to do it, but I think what is different now is there is a coordinated effort, a rallying cry for redevelopment in that area. And I think we are the most optimistic we have ever been about the future of North Bethesda in the health computing and in the artificial intelligence space. And I think this site poses or could act as the cornerstone to that future. And what I'm trying to reconcile is the point that Director Conklin stated, that it is a WMATA-owned site, that we are hoping, optimistically so, that it will be redeveloped. And the best way to redevelop and build a new metro station, a new metro entrance, is in coordination with the physical building. I mean, that's the point of your.
That's essentially the point, and that process is not advanced to the point that you could actually implement this on a faster schedule. We need to let that development planning element and the economics of that building be identified so that you could effectively design this facility.
And so I feel torn in the sense that while I've been a staunch supporter of these funds over the last, during my first term, over the last 4 years, we're now at this inflection point where the possibility of the redevelopment of that property is greater than ever. And so explain to us what happens if we program these funds and the redevelopment process, or the building process there moves forward.
Well, I don't think there's any chance of the building process accelerating to the point where it would catch up to these funds. The issue is you'll be reserving funds here, and they may not be able to be used in those years, and you're going to have a lot of other projects that you need to consider and how to use that. So do you want to lock those funds up for this project in a time frame in which we may not be able to make use of them? Or do you want to try to have it better match what the development timeline might be at that site?
So I think that's a really important point, in that you're saying that the funds won't be used for this because that the metro entrance will be built as part of that structure, but we won't be able to tap these funds for the other needs that we're talking about.
Yeah, you'll be locking them into this project in a time frame which they may not be useful for this project in that time frame.
Can I add that really, again, the money that's in the project now for land acquisition and construction should really only be considered as a placeholder right now anyway, because it's far less than what the actual cost is going to be. When I mentioned earlier about $14 million, that's just the cost even without putting a building on top of it. Put a building on top of it with the reinforcements, everything will be quite a bit more than that. So a lot of it comes down to the deal with WMATA as to, like, if they ever get around to actually wanting to put a building there, what are they willing to put up in terms of the ultimate total cost of that entrance, given that the cost is going to be quite a bit more. If we don't include any money in 26, 27, 28, it's going to be that much harder to find the money that we would be putting up towards this project in later CIPs. So it really is sort of a placeholder.
An investment, a placeholder, sure.
I was going to not say it as eloquently as that, but I think the issue of if we take it out, it's going to be harder to put it in than to take it out later. And so I would agree that we want to keep that as a placeholder.
So I agree, and ultimately strongly support that we keep it in, but I think it's just important for the public conversation to recognize what might come out of these funds at the same time talking about the future of North Bethesda, which we've been spending a lot of time recently doing, and it's really exciting, and this is all part of unlocking that potential.
Can I just ask another? So what happens if the building never comes? Say such I'm knocking. I knocked on wood. Okay.
design and construction of the station should be to facilitate that later development. Ultimately, there should be a building on that corner.
Right. And WMATA has price estimates for both, is just the station and a building and a station.
Right.
Which they've updated or in the process of. Okay.
There was a substantial additional cost to design the station, not anticipating being built over and then building over it, compared to coordinating that design early on so that it enables that overbuild.
So, strongly support.
Okay, the next project is referred to as the Methuselah projects, the Falls Road Bikeway and Pedestrian Facility. It's been the CIP since 2009. And it would build a hiker-biker path along the east side of Falls Road from where it ends now at Dunster Road in Rockville down to Potomac Village. The cost estimate is very much out of date. The county was able to secure a grant for a federal grant to fund about 3/4 the cost to redesign that path because it's so old, the old design. It was to be spent in FY22, but actually they're just now maybe getting around to starting on the design. And so I'm recommending two things. First of all, not showing that the design is going to be done in FY23 and 24, not in FY22 because it wasn't done then. But also the executives recommending delaying the construction costs for this project, which is now starting in 27 and into 28 and then beyond. He's recommending delaying it beyond FY28. I'm recommending not delaying it, keeping it in 27 and 28. Again, at this point, more or less as a placeholder, keeping a toe in the CIP for this. Once the design is done, we'll have a better idea what the cost is. But frankly, and it'll probably be much higher because the design's been so old. But frankly, this is one where, again, the commitment has been made so many years ago, and there has been a good bit of support for the folks in that area to see this trail happen, that I think in the next CIP, and since I won't be around for it, I'm making my pitch now, that once the design is done, you think about actually accelerating this project so it doesn't lose as much time as it has already lost. But at this point, just making those two changes. Show the design funds in 23 and 24, and keeping the funding as is in the approved CIP starting in 27 and 28.
I support staff recommendation.
Director Copeland has.
Just a clarification on that redesign, it is not for the entirety of the Falls Road corridor. It is from Democracy Boulevard to Tuckerman Lane, which is the middle 2/3 of the corridor. So there's a section between Tuckerman and Dunster that's not part of that, and between Democracy and River Road that's not part of that.
So it's not from Dunster all the way down to...
No, it's just that middle section where there was some analysis to show that was the highest priority. So
my mistake.
I just want to make sure that's clear as we go through the
Appreciate that.
session.
I have a question about, so what's the construction dollars that would go back in?
If you look on circles 47 and 48,
Oh, I see, I'm sorry.
circle 47 really, it's $1.6 million in 27. That's for land acquisition. Construction would start in FY28 at $9.4 million, and the balance is beyond 6 years, 14.4. But all those numbers are presumably pretty low because this estimate hasn't been updated for a number of years.
And those numbers would be for the entire route?
Yes, from Dunster to Potomac Village.
So I'm wondering if we...
It's a long trail.
Right. So I'm wondering if the construction dollars should match the design dollars, if the design is only a small amount, or a shorter amount.
These construction dollars are likely insufficient for the larger scope, but there has to be some effort to understand what those larger numbers would be. I don't know when the last time this was updated, but it hasn't been updated recently.
Yeah, I guess what I'd suggest, my suggestion is leave this sort of as it is in the approved CIP, but when the next CIP comes forward, of course, the design won't be finished by then, but maybe largely finished. If you're doing an FY23 and 24, you'll know enough by maybe a year from now to know what the cost for each segment was, and you can get a more deeper dive and to see, well, maybe only a segment of this should be programmed based on the new costs, and to make it maybe more affordable. Again, the goal in the master plan is still to have a continuous trail all the way from Rockville down to Potomac Village, and there is a trail that runs from Potomac Village south to MacArthur Boulevard. But that would be my suggestion, just keep it the way it is.
I'm sorry, keep it the way.
Keep it in the approved CIP, the construction dollars, and again, more or less as a placeholder, because we don't really have any more information right now. We know it's going to cost more, but if we were trying to figure out right now what the cost of a segment would be, it would be a guess. It wouldn't be based on any information, any design or anything like that.
Yeah, I just am reluctant to put the money in when we don't really know what I mean, this is just a guess, right? And I don't really want to.
Well, this was an estimate that was based on something years ago, but it is old, very old.
So I think that raises a bigger question. If you referred to this as the Methuselah, right? The longest living biblical figure. And so it has outlived lots of things. And there is a philosophical question of how long should projects be in CIP? How long should they be in master plans? We've discussed this about a lot of other things, including M83, right? And I regret mentioning that, but it
Is the floor open?
but it's part of the broader conversation, and that's what you're getting at too. Yeah. So I'll support staff recommendation.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
We'll discuss it all later, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next project is the Forest Glen Passageway. The executive is recommending delaying it one more year. This is the underpass from the Forest Glen Metro Station in the southwest corner of George Avenue and Forest Glen Road to a new portal on the northeast corner. And it connects to a sidewalk, which is, I think, separately funded now. It goes all the way over to Holy Cross Hospital. Actually, on this project, which has been the CIP for years, there wasn't a change in the cost estimate a couple years ago, so this cost estimate is relatively up to date. And it's pretty expensive, but I'm not recommending delaying the project again at this point.
So this intersection in the next number of years is going to have a lot of activity. There's the WMATA parking lot, which is out for bid, I believe, or at least a deal is being worked on. That is not yet public. And then across the street, across Georgia Avenue, is an old medical building that is up for sale, and their proposals, they've already had a community meeting a few weeks ago about redevelopment. And so if we don't do something about that already dangerous intersection, I'm not, let me rephrase that. We need to do something about that dangerous intersection because of the influx of residents we know that are going to be coming to it. So I'll support staff recommendation and not delay this.
Great.
Great.
Okay, the next project, bottom page 7, is Tuckerman Lane Sidewalk. This went through facility planning a couple years ago. It's a very long project. The ultimate project goes from Falls Road and Potomac all the way over to Old Georgetown Road. It's in 4 segments, and the previous council decided that they should concentrate really on the westernmost segments, segments 1 and 2, which would be from Falls Road to Angus Place, which is near 7 Locks Road. The executive last year recommended a very short segment of sidewalk near Churchill High School, which is part of segment 1. Segment 1 or segment 2, and I can't remember which one now. It's one of the one. Okay. The council last year decided. Okay, let me back up. The short segment the executive wanted to build, it would start in FY27 and finish in FY28. The council wanted to start work on the rest of segments 1 and 2, also in FY27. And what that meant was FY27 and 28 would be the years for design of the rest of segments 1 and 2. And then right-of-way acquisition would be in fiscal years 29 and 30, and construction in years 31 and 32. All of that you recognize is outside the CIP period. The executive this time is still recommending that the segment he's proposing, the short segment, still be built in FY '27 and '28, but he would delay the rest of it by 2 years. In other words, then the design of the rest of segments 1 and 2 would start in FY '29, finish in FY '30, land acquisition 31, 32, and construction 33 and 34. So all that would be beyond the 6-year period, rather than just doing the full design in the last 2 years. And my recommendation is stay with the schedule. It's in the approved CIP, which is, again, start the design in FY '27 for that rest of segments 1 and 2, as well as what the executive is recommending for his short segment.
Staff recommendation?
Yep.
Okay, the next is Summit Avenue Extended. This is relatively new project, got through facility planning recently. This has been a long time priority of the town of Kensington. What this would do is extend Summit Avenue from Pliers Mill Road north up to the intersection of University Boulevard and Connecticut Avenue in Kensington. And what it would do is it would allow traffic to bypass two of the most congested intersections in that part of the world, which is Pliers Mill Road and Connecticut Avenue and Knowles Avenue. But to bypass it, if folks coming from the north and from the east, if their destination is NIH and they want to continue down Summit Avenue, or if their destination is White Flint or North Bethesda, coming down to Knowles Avenue and then heading west over through Garrett Park and over to Rockville Pike. It would also provide for a sidewalk and a bikeway in that area. And the town's interest in this is not only to relieve the congestion at the two big intersections in Kensington, but also to spur the redevelopment of that corner of the town center, which is an industrial area now. They're hoping that this would incite interest amongst property owners to redevelop that area. And so when it was first proposed last year in the CIP, Mr. Friedson and the town agreed actually not to recommend starting the design as early as they could have, which would have been this fiscal year, but to defer it by 2 years, just recognizing there were competing projects in the CIP. But ultimately, even that was delayed by 2 more years. So what's in the approved CIP shows design starting in FY '27 and continuing in FY '28, and then land acquisition and construction beyond that. The executive is recommending deferring this project by, I've already forgotten, is it 1 year or 2? 1 year. 1 year deferral. So the construction would start in FY '31 rather than FY '30. And I'm not recommending deferring the project.
Turn it over to
Thank you.
Council member.
Thank you for that. And while this has fairly recently shown in the CIP, this has been a long-term project that the town of Kensington and surrounding areas has really wanted. This is another where I'll say I strongly suggest that we keep it in as is. And the reason is there is a real strong commitment from the residents and the town of Kensington. Last Monday night, the town of Kensington just voted to use their own town money to have a urban land institute study done so that they could really look at the benefits, as Dr. Orling mentioned, on the economic and the housing benefits as well. And so I think this is a long time coming. The folks who requested this project already agreed to a delay last year, and I think we should keep it in as is.
I agree. Well said.
Okay, the next project is the Capitol Crescent Trail, and here we're really talking mostly about the tunnel. This is one that really has bounced around over the years. The executive, the current schedule, and I did make an error in my description here, which I caught just this morning, which I'll explain, but it doesn't change my recommendation. The current schedule in the CIP has construction starting in middle of fiscal year 26 and finishing in the end of fiscal year 28, and it shows it as being a cost about $55 million. That would complete this tunnel about depending on who you talk to, either a year or a year and a half after the Purple Line opens. The executive is pointing out that the cost estimate has really gone up on this project quite a bit. It's been a few years since the $55.6 million estimate was created. And so what he's saying now is that even if you left the project in today's dollars in the CIP and didn't delay it, it would cost not 55.5, but really $69 million. And if you delayed it to what he's recommending, which is at least a 2.5 year, if not a 3-year delay, it would be $82.5 million. The other thing to understand is that, and the DOT has announced this recently, they're applying for a RAISE grant, a federal grant, for $45 million to pay for that part of the $69 million cost. So it would be $45 million in federal money, but it would have to be matched by $24 million in non-federal funds, which we're assuming in this case would be county unless the state were to step up somehow. But there's been no sign the state's going to be doing that. And so I should also point out that the planning board is recommending actually not delaying, not even having the project built on the schedule it's in the approved CIP, essentially reaccelerating it to where it was prior to that, which was fiscal years 25 through 27, which would then put it pretty much in sync with the Purple Line schedule. And that's my recommendation as well. I think I said in the packet that I'm recommending keeping it on the current schedule. No, I'm actually recommending accelerating it from the current schedule by 1 year to put it back on its original schedule, which is 25 to 27, which would put it more or less in sync with the Purple Line. And my rationale for saying that is that if we get the federal money, the $24 million commitment is far less than the 55.5 that we've been assuming. And it's something that's been a commitment for a very, very long time. And it's a very important project, not just Bethesda, but really for the whole region in terms of bike ped continuity. And so that's my recommendation. With one more point, I keep saying if. Be perfectly frank, getting the RAISE grant is going to be, I don't want to call it a stretch, but there's a lot of competition for that. And so we ought to be very clear on the PDF that says that if we don't receive the federal money, then the schedule for the tunnel will have to be reevaluated.
Thank you for that, Director Conklin.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I think there's another adjustment to the project in there, which was moving forward some of the construction of the surface route so that route is available earlier. And that's already in place up past Wisconsin Avenue, and it would be extended along 47th Street up to Elm Street, where you could then make a connection to the portion of the Capitol Crescent Trail that's being built by the Purple Line headed to Silver Spring. So that we have moved that forward so that that route's available independent of the outcome in the tunnel. And just to reiterate what Dr. Orland said, we did the best we can with the RAISE grant application. We hope that it's successful, but it is a very high degree of competition for that. So it's 10 or less % chance that that grant will be awarded. And frankly, there's a number of aspects of this project that don't fit that grant criteria terribly well in terms of demographics and equity considerations. But we've done the best we can to frame it so that it does. But you are, again, much like the previous conversation we had, potentially reserving very substantial capacity here that you might better find suits your other priorities.
I appreciate that and the candor regarding the possibility or likelihood or lack thereof of receiving some of those federal funds. I'm looking at the PDF, and Dr. Orland, when you were referring to the year-over-year cost estimate, was it correct that that essentially every year delayed or over the next few years it would increase by $12 to $14 million, the cost?
Well, I think the estimate from DOT, you want to talk about the estimate? I think it was 10% for the last couple of years, but less than that after that.
Right, because it's not specified in that way.
Sure. So the RAISE grant application stipulated that you had to use FY21 dollars. So that we had to kind of back out to see from the original estimate that went
FY21 dollars.
That's what the 69 million represents, is the cost. There's a bunch of escalation calculations that have gone into kind of compounding factors that went into, okay, for the purpose of the RAISE grant application, it's $69 million. If we were looking forward, we made an assumption of 3% per year and that compounds based off of the schedule in the recommended CIP. And that's where the $82 million number.
So the complicated math is complicated.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure I understood it and was trying to follow along and couldn't quite understand why it escalated like that, but you've just...
It's the time value of money.
Got it. Well, again, this is another one of those projects where it is not only important to our residents, but important to the region. We'll have a conversation in a few moments regarding the Purple Line as a whole. It's important to that. Director Conklin, I appreciate you sharing that while the tunnel remains a project that we'll complete in the future, that work is underway for the surface trail and the connectivity and the safety for people traveling throughout our region, hiking and biking in particular. So I'm glad to hear that, but I support staff recommendation for these funds.
Yep. Yes.
Can I just ask a question? I didn't think about asking this before. Do we know when the raise grant decisions are going to be made? Is it months, years?
Oh, months. We
Months.
expect to hear about it probably mid to late summer.
Okay.
They went in a couple weeks ago.
Okay, well, then this is something you could reconsider next year as part of the FY25 to 28 CIP. 25 to 30 CIP, sorry.
We'll have Councilmember Balcom knock on more wood. There we go.
Okay, the last major project is Observation Drive Extended. This is a road that been in the CIP for a while, and it would run from its current terminus, the north end of Germantown, across Little Seneca Creek into Clarksburg. It's supposed to be eventually a 4-lane road that would extend from that point all the way to Stringtown Road. It would also include the extension of Little Seneca Parkway west to it. And then the best way to look at this is there's a map in your attachments, which is on circle 60. Excuse me. When you look at circle 60, if you see the dark line that goes north from Germantown across West Old Baltimore Road, and then you see the extension of Little Seneca Creek, Little Seneca Parkway over to it, and it includes the remaining 2 lanes. It's already a 2-lane road, partly for Little Seneca Parkway, up to 355. This project's been split into 2 phases. It was done that way because the overall cost of this project is very expensive. It's well over $100 million. And so the idea was to do the section in black first, and then do the dashed section at a later time. Also, as it turns out, a lot of the land acquisition costs are associated with that phase 2. So in the approved CIP, which has already delayed the project a bit over time, phase 2 would not happen until beyond 6 years anyway. And the question is, how much do you do with phase 1? So the executive recommended delaying phase 1 by 1 year, and I'll just say the history of this in the last month and a half is I asked DOT to come up with maybe a lesser option for phase 1 and do more of it in phase 2 just to reduce the cost and maybe keep it on schedule rather than delay it. But what they found in redoing it was that actually what they had sent over and what was in the approved CIP were really both incorrect. That design did not start last fiscal year. In fact, it hasn't started yet. It's starting maybe now. And so, in fact, even if you do the scope that's in the approved CIP, construction really can't start until FY28. Take 3.5 years to do the design. It's part of some of this is preliminary design, I understand, as well as final design, before you even get to right-of-way acquisition and construction. So this is a considerably lesser cost within the 6-year period than what the executive sent over in January, because of this schedule, which is now further off in time than what was anticipated. My recommendation is, not knowing any other alternatives, is basically agree with the executive sending over now, which is his March 15th amendment, which has the silver lining of freeing up a lot of capacity in the fiscal capacity, but the dark cloud is still that there's no relief for Clarksburg anytime soon with this. It just delayed things even further. So reluctantly, I'm basically agreeing with the executive's March 15th amendment for Observation Drive.
Turn it over to the district council member.
Thank you. So to say I'm disappointed is really putting it very mildly. The Clarksburg community has had to put up with failure after failure after failure, not only transportation, in so many other ways. And delaying this project adds to the long list. So transurban decision just recently. So the American Legion Bridge directly impacts the morning commute. That's currently, we don't know where that's going to be. The BRT North on 355 was to be funded by the toll lanes. That's now off the table for any foreseeable future. M83, which was mentioned before, has been off the table for many, many years. The Quarter Cities Transitway, which was going to go from Clarksburg to Germantown to Gaithersburg to the Life Sciences Center, is gone. And now Observation Drive. So at some point, the county has to help Clarksburg. The county has a responsibility. 30,000 people in Clarksburg in the past 20 years, and except for minor transportation, minor street, like neighborhood roads, there's been no increased capacity. And 30,000 people have been placed in Clarksburg. And the county did that. The county approved all that residential, all those houses, with no relief. And so I just need to know why this project, why we're at the position now where this project hasn't even been started, and why it's going to take 3.5 years to design just to get started on phase one. Even if we could do a small part of phase one. So I just really need to know how this happened and how we can make sure that it moves forward.
Yeah, happy to answer some, but not all of your questions. As I'm sure you know, I can't answer all of them. There has been investment in transportation facilities in Clarksburg with the widening of Maryland 27, the completion of Snowden Farm Parkway and Stringtown Road, all of which the county participated in, didn't fully fund those, but participated with the development community in making those happen. In terms of this project, this phase one configuration is substantially different than the preliminary engineering or the planning phase of the work that occurred a few years ago. And some of the reasons for the length of the design process are there are at least 2 major bridges in this project. The project is through park property, requires Army Corps permits, so there's a lot of regulatory work that needs to be done to make this happen. The delay in getting this phase started has been related to getting the additional survey in hand for the extension of Little Seneca Creek Parkway, which was not available before, and a little bit of slowness in terms of getting the regulatory approvals to do geotechnical work related to the stream crossing areas and getting in the environmentally sensitive areas without damaging them to do the geotechnical work. So that's the reason why it hasn't started, and the reason for the length of the process is really the bridge design and regulatory environment around crossing the creek. So those are the things we're going to have to do to make this project happen. And then the last part, the phase 2 component, we have some expectation that as the Clarksburg master plan is revisited, that alignment may not hold as the phase 2 alignment. So there's, I think, a little less pressure to get that component done, but the phase 1 component is just a complicated design environment.
So the CIP the last year's CIP had twice as much planning in years 26, 27 at $2 million each year, but this proposed CIP is $1.1 million. So why are there less planning dollars associated with this proposal?
Well, the design is moving more slowly in the current CIP proposal, which is related to the overall fiscal capacity to for the entirety of the CIP.
Right, so that's a good answer, because my view is this project has been delayed. The original appropriation was FY16, right? So why not accelerate the planning?
Well, we're in design,
Design, right.
If the council wanted to move this project faster, we would look to see ways that we could accelerate that design, but that's not what we've proposed right now.
So I would propose to my colleague that that's what we do, is to accelerate the planning and design of this project.
Thank you, Councilmember Balcom. So in the 4 years that I've served on this committee and on this council, I have been very strongly in support of this project. I take my responsibility as an at-large council member very seriously in recognizing the transportation needs of the up-county and the realities, and this is something that they need, which is why I've been very supportive of it, and I'll support the district council member's recommendation.
I'll support it as well.
Could I ask the DOT, I need to be specific about this because we're putting numbers in years and such. In my earlier conversations, I got maybe it was the raw false impression that what you sent over on March 15th was the production schedule, but now I'm hearing really it's partly production, but partly it's fiscal. So can you produce for us in the committee in the next couple days the production schedule for Observation Drive?
We can do that.
Okay, and do we know enough to know whether or not that means, for example, starting land acquisition at least a year earlier than what we have, or do we just?
We've got to have some conversation with the project management staff. What you got initially did not get all the vetting it probably needed to.
All right, but whatever we get ought to be the production schedule. In other words, the fastest that you can reasonably move forward on the project, reasonably, not being too optimistic. Assuming money is no object. I know that's like,
I know that
you don't want to hear, but that's what a production schedule is.
looking forward to that world.
Okay. If we can get that in the next couple of days, because we have the council session a week from tomorrow, and the packets actually due Thursday, so I need to have it really literally the next 2 days.
Checking Mary's mental condition with that statement.
So with that understanding, in other words, whatever the production schedule is what the committee's recommendation is? Not knowing what it is yet, we'll find out. Okay, thank you. All right, the last points I just want to cover are really comments that were made, recommendations made by the planning board. I just want to address them each individually. One is to create an Aspen Hill Bicycle Pedestrian Priority Area Program, or BIPA. We started about 10 years ago with 5 BIPAs, mostly down county, and that sort of evolved into more like 6 or 7 areas over time. But we've spent a lot of money, actually at this point, building a lot of the bicycle and pedestrian improvements in those built-up areas. And the planning board is recommending creating a new one in Aspen Hill. What I'm suggesting is that actually it's probably time to have another group of them be created, get started on a bunch of other areas, particularly in areas that we, in parts of the county where we don't have BIPAs so far, up county, maybe far east county, and have DOT and Park and Planning work together over the course of the next year. And so in time for the 25 to 30 CIP, you actually bring forward programs in each of those areas, maybe up to 5 more areas. Again, this is just a suggestion. I don't know if the committee wants to weigh in on this or not, but nothing for this CIP, but basically have them work on this so that in the next CIP we can get started on several new areas. Aspen Hill certainly is one. That seems to be a good one. Germantown might be another.
Whatever means we can utilize to better understand the pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure in as many hyper local areas as possible would be helpful. I know a number of years ago, Councilmember Reamer requested that we delineate in the program the different areas and how much money is going to the different areas so that we could better refine those programs and see the progress. And if this is the next step in that evolution, I think it would be a good thing.
The next comment they made was to include money for what they call systematic safety countermeasure programs. This comes out of the some of the work they did looking at predicting traffic collisions and crashes. And a lot of these improvements are very low cost, but maybe scores or even scores of them around the county, including upgraded sidewalk, crosswalks, lowered speed limits, revising timing of traffic signals, creating centerline rumble strips. I'm just reading from my packet. A lot of these are operational, so they will be paid for out of the operating budget, not out of the CIP. A few of them would come out of the CIP, though, such as the more speed humps, for example. But that, in turn, requires changes to the executive regulation on speed humps to be able to do necessarily as many more as what's being suggested. So again, on this one, I'm going to have a conversation with DOT and with Park and Planning over some of this stuff in preparation for the operating budget work sessions in April, and some of it maybe could be worked on over the course of the year for the next CIP. And then finally, on bike racks.
On that one, I just want to underscore the importance of this, and I know you said that a lot of this might be in the operating budget, but as you said, these are many times can be low-cost issues, but so important in our community. So we can talk about more when we're doing the operating budget, but just kind of wanted to underscore the importance of this, and I'm glad it was raised here.
Okay. And the last comment they made was having to do with bike racks. The proposal from the planning board is that there be bike racks added at schools and public schools and rec centers and libraries. That's not DOT's area. The cost for these bike racks would be MCPS, Department of Libraries, and Rec Department. So it really goes to different committees and different budgets. And so I think in the review, it may be too late this year already. I'm not sure if these other if the other committees have gotten these recommendations prior to this, but that's something maybe the council could consider as part of its review of these CIPs later in this month, or if not, certainly next year. But this is the same recommendation actually they made last year, the planning board, and there really wasn't follow-up here. But it wouldn't be this committee, it wouldn't be DOT. It's outside of their jurisdiction.
So clearly the bike racks at schools would be within MCPS's jurisdiction, but would it be correct that all the other county facilities, could that be included under DGS rather than under the department budgets?
Well,
I mean, if we wanted to make a countywide policy that bike racks should be installed in libraries and rec centers and other community facilities, that it would be DGS to work in collaboration with the departments. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself here. You know, we don't have to have this conversation now.
Projects that are sort of county government projects that are not transportation are done by DGS. But in terms of where it sits in the budget, whether it's the capital budget, the operating budget, it's usually in the department's budget. So, for example, when a library is built, well, DGS is doing the work. It's not like the librarians are building a library. But if they're going to be bike racks at a library, that's something that DGS would design, but it'd be part of the library's CIP in one way, shape, or form. But that's something we could have a conversation with OMB about in terms of where it best sits. But again, it certainly wouldn't be DOT.
Conversation for another time. But thank you for raising it.
And the last thing I want to highlight is, again, we're going to talk about other projects the executive is recommending a couple days ago in late April. But here's a couple more that will need to come back. One is Bowie Mill Road Bikeway. You recall last year, then Senator Lutke had gotten a bond bill which allowed for $1.5 million of state money to be spent towards that project, which cost a little bit over $20 million. And what the council decided to do, but through an amendment to the CIP, was to accelerate the design. So it started actually earlier this year But then come back in this budget to decide whether or not A, is the design accelerated enough so that we could think about accelerating the completion of that project by a year, and B, is there another $7 or $8 million that could be found to pay for what's already not in the CIP within the 6-year period, to pay for the construction costs so it can be finished by FY28. Right now it's being finished in FY29. The hope was that we would actually get maybe a bond bill from the state for that, so it wouldn't compete with other priorities such as, I don't know, schools or the project we've been talking about this morning. So we'll know better when we get closer to sine die whether or not there's capacity there or not, but this is something the council did promise it would come back to this spring. And then secondly, and Councilmember Balcom referred to it, with at least the possible demise of the Opportunity Lines project, that the money that we expected in terms of toll revenue that would pay for the half of the cost of the 355 Central BRT and all of the costs for designing the northern extension and the southern extension would be just gone. It'd disappear. And so the question is, what happens to these projects? There's a bill that would allow for some money to come through BRT through essentially related to lottery money, but it's actually only a fraction of the $170 million, which is by the books is gone if the Opportunity Lanes projects don't proceed. And I guess we don't have a definitive word yet from the state as to whether or not they're going to, in fact, support the Opportunity Lanes in some way, shape, or form. But if they don't, we will have to make changes to those two projects. Otherwise, it would show them being funded with paper money, with imaginary money. I do want to point out that the 355 BRT, the Viersville Road BRT project is not funded with Opportunity Lanes funds, toll funds. That's just strictly federal aid with the state match, and presuming that's not affected by this. But 355 Central and 355 North and South certainly would be.
I appreciate you sharing some of that background regarding BRT funding and regarding work that's taking place in Annapolis. And while the session has not yet concluded, I have been down there a number of times with the county executive talking with our leaders about using some of that lotto funding, potentially bonding it and being able to better utilize it. In lots of conversations with Director Conklin and his team and other stakeholders in the county about how we can better take advantage of that bonding authority. And I think there will be more to share in the coming weeks, depending on what comes out of Annapolis. So stay tuned.
The only other comment I wanted to make is you characterized it correctly, Glenn. We don't yet know what the state's position is going to be on the contractor abandoning their component of the project. The commitments to advance the project and the American Legion Bridge and that Phase 1A are related to the project, not who delivered it. And the public statements we've heard from the administration are that they intend to continue to advance a program. We just don't yet know what that program will look like and how it will be funded. So clearly this has an impact on the way the county has programmed these dollars. We're still evaluating what that means and are likely to have some recommendations about how to deal with this change in that project status before the end of the budget deliberations this cycle.
So hopefully this can all things will be much clearer in a month.
No, I don't think anything will be clear, but I think we will be able to have said what we need to do in response to the lack of clarity.
They're going to have to make a decision on the CIP.
Correct. So I think we can deal with that without knowing the full outcome from the state.
Okay, with that, that's all. That's it for items 1 and 2. And unless you have any other questions, we can go to the purple line briefing.
We're good. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Just wanted to add one thing. Gary Nalvin, OMB. I want to provide some additional fiscal context on some of these delays in transportation. Transportation is the second largest category in our CIP, with the largest being Montgomery County Public Schools. Public Schools CIP request is always very front-loaded. They show most of their large expenditures in the first 2 years of the CIP. That leaves more funding in the out years, where public schools tends to understate some of their costs. So what happens is a lot of these transportation projects end up in the out years. When we come to a point where we need to delay funding for fiscal capacity overall, those transportation projects in the out years are the natural choice for delays because they've not yet begun implementation. We don't want to delay projects that have started implementation yet. We don't want to delay projects that are critical maintenance of existing county infrastructure. So this is the bind we find ourselves in with this current structural problem in the CIP.
Thank you for the context. Thank you all.
And from the folks in the purple line, come on down.
Okay, so the last remaining item on today's agenda is an update from our Purple Line partners. If you all want to make your way up. Something that we have traditionally done twice a year, and for reasons that will be shared, we haven't done it in quite a while, but looking forward to this update. So, Mr. Pollock, hi. Do you want to, turn that on, and if you want to introduce your team, and then we can start with your presentation.
Absolutely. Why don't we move down 2 slides? All right. Well, good morning, council members and the esteemed Dr. Orland. Today, well, I should say for the record, my name is Matthew Pollock. I am the Executive Director for Transit Development and Delivery for the Maryland Department of Transportation, Maryland Transit Administration. I'm joined by 3 other members of the Purple Line team. Starting to my left, we have Doran Basso, who is the CEO of Purple Line Transit Partners, followed by Ugo Fonteroche, who is the Project Manager for Maryland Transit Solutions, and our esteemed Construction Manager for Maryland Transit Solutions, Mr. Julio Velez. We are going to do really a brief overview. You all are very familiar with the project, so I don't want to spend too much time on the overview. We want to get as quickly as possible into a construction update, through that construction update, and then have an opportunity for you all to ask questions or raise concerns. So with that, we take a look at what we would call our transit connections map, showing our 16-mile, 21-station alignment. With the, of course, the 2 stations on the red line connecting to the green-yellow and ending at New Carrollton on the east side of our alignment. Our project benefits are many. I tend to be, pushing the idea that getting that dependable east-west transit, that connection across our 2 counties, which in turn give us the transit development we need and the economic development for these 2 very fast-growing counties. Next slide. For the most part, our P3 structure has remained in place. Maryland Transit Solutions, on the bottom left there, they are the primary change in the last year. Of course, as we mentioned, today we have the Maryland Transit Administration, Purple Line Transit Partners, and MTS joining us today. We have kept in place our designer of record, that's Atkins, as well as our car builder, CAF, who also has a role in the ultimate operations and maintenance over the 30-year period, along with a company called ACI, Alternate Concepts. Those 2 companies make up what we call Purple Line Transit Operators. Next slide. Here's our current project timeline. We start approximately a year ago when the contract with MTS was signed. That put us into really a period of planning, mobilization, due diligence, surveys, going out and looking across the alignment to see what they have bought into. Over the summer, we started ramping up our construction. I would say that, we've really made a much larger splash probably since January. Pretty much we are everywhere across the alignment. No longer are we leaving those areas where people felt that the construction was abandoned. Oh, I'm sorry. Lots more to talk about the schedule. Oh, it might go automatically for all I know. We're looking for our vehicles to start coming soon. We show in there fall of 2023. It's probably more likely it's going to be the start of the new year. We've been working diligently in our operations and maintenance facility area in Glen Ridge to get tracks in place, and you'll see some pictures in a little bit about that. But certainly our first big milestone is going to be when those vehicles start arriving. They are going to be arriving with the idea that closely over that, we're going to have a test track in place. That test track will be a slightly less than 1 mile stretch, basically along Veterans Highway on the alignment in Prince George's County, where it's a nice stretch of track which feeds into not only our storage tracks, but it also doesn't cross any roads, so we don't have to worry about interfacing with automobile traffic while we're doing that initial testing. That initial testing goes for a little more than a year until we reach what we call system-wide testing. That's when we hope to have tracks from end to end laid, and we can finish up our general construction around the area, but we can test from end to end. That's going to be very important, not only to get the correct number of miles on each vehicle for them to be certified for revenue service, but we also have to get our operators the correct number of miles under their belt so that they're certified to operate the vehicles as well. We're still showing a passenger service beginning in the fall of 2026, but certainly, as we all know, the Washington Post a while ago now had printed those articles, which were correct, showing that there were some reported issues that are impacting our ability to meet the schedule. That's absolutely correct. We do have issues that are threatening our schedule. Usually our first step is to try and address those issues. We don't automatically just slide the schedule out. Our first instinct is to try and mitigate. And to that point, we put together what we call a Tiger team, a group of experts who are taking a look at the schedule. They've been in place since October, looking at the various ways that we can mitigate those issues. We've already started some of that mitigation. I guess it's not obvious what's mitigation and just what's regular work, but some of our activities right now on Wayne Avenue are actually part of our mitigation activities, and we're still looking at others. So at this time, we haven't contractually changed our revenue service date, but as we figure out what is the whole universe of what we can do as far as mitigation, we are going to come back together and figure out what that means to our schedule. And if necessary, we will push the revenue service date out at that time if that's what we're left with. Thank you. But we are very excited about our vehicles. I still haven't gotten up to Elmira, New York, and with how cold it was today just in Maryland, I'm not sure I really want to go to North New York State, but that's where they are. They get exercised regularly, and they have maintenance put on them regularly as part of our contract for the storage. We're excited about them. Quite big, as I've mentioned previously. They'll be the largest rail vehicles, single rail vehicles in the United States when they're put in revenue service. Each vehicle can hold 400 passengers comfortably with 80 of them in seats. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Ugo. He's going to do a quick update just overall and then start delving into details about specific sites.
On the purple line. We will go through more details in the next slides, but the goal of this one is to clarify that we are working, as Matt already expressed before, in all segments through several project-wide activities. For example, we have right now around 15 crews working on storm drain and drainage. We have 2 crews. We expect to have a third one in April working on the OCS, the catenary system, the foundations. And what we can see right now in the picture is one of the walls that we are building close to Rock Creek. And actually, we are working around 12 different walls along the alignment. Here what we can see actually is the rebar on the ground. We proceeded installing the rebar on the ground and then erecting them in the facade of the wall in order to expedite the process and in order to perform that in a safer manner. And next slide, please. And now going into more detail, we're going to go from Bethesda to New Carrollton. We will split, Julio and I, in the next few slides. But regarding Bethesda, we are building this temporary enclosure where we are going to be performing the excavation operations. That way, we're allowed to work in an area that is closed and minimize the impacts of the surroundings. We also implemented and we also coordinated with SHA and with Montgomery County certain detours. In detail, the tour that we have for pedestrian at Wisconsin Avenue, we implemented around 3 months ago, and it's going to be around 2-3 years until we finalize the operations at Bethesda Shaft. We also have started working outside of the air rights building. We have been also coordinating with the public. We have communicated door to door with the neighbors about the start of these operations and the walls that we are performing at the exit of Bethesda, and the walls that we are constructing in also the surroundings. We recently, well, in January, we installed the steel structure for the CCT bridge at Connecticut Avenue. We also actually poured the deck for the LRV last year, so that completes structurally the second structure over Connecticut Avenue. We expect to pour the deck of the CCT bridge very soon. And we're going to do something similar in April for Talbot Avenue. The rebar, we cannot see the rebar in the picture, but the rebar is there. We are finalizing the installation of the rebar, and we plan to pour the deck in April as well. In the meantime, we are continue working on the walls of the surrounding area, since we have a lot of wall structures, and also the approaches that will connect the bridge. Yeah, and from this, Julio will take it over.
Sure. So right now we're at the Silver Springs Transit Center. We've finally, after a significant amount of coordination with the counties and all the respective stakeholders, have started operations on Silver Springs. It is a very delicate area because we know there's a lot of people with blind community and all that. So we've had a significant amount of meetings, and so far we finally now have started working on the Purple Line station. So the photo that you see there is the aerial structure where we have now started doing all the stay-in-place form. The rebar is also installed, and we are hoping that we're planning on pouring our first deck next month. So come April, the limits of the Purple Line station within the aerial will be poured, and as soon as that is poured, we're going to turn the structure over to some of our subcontractors to resume the construction of the platform. in conjunction, that's what you see here. When it says this spring, we're going to pour that next month. In conjunction, the entire alignment over the flyover, which is what we call it, has been under, all the planning has been submitted, all the submittals, so we're now waiting on finalizing all of our WMATA approvals, and also there's submittals that have gone on to the county on work plans on how we're going to work on Colesville and the impacts on Colesville Road. So those are in the works, and we hope to resume and continue this summer until the entire flyover structure is completed. In conjunction with the Purple Line Station, we're also making final preparations right now. We have already constructed our access on Ripley Street on how we intend to access the work for the mezzanine, which is the connection to the red line. So that Ripley access has been constructed. We're now in the process of finalizing all our submittals for approval. And assuming they come back, we hope to start full force next month also. So you should see some action happening in that yellow area, which we intend to build an access through there, and then that'll start to work on actually the mezzanine. We hope that also come April, we will start working on the demolition of the platform. We're in final stretches of approval with WMATA, and then that should trigger demolition, partial demolition of the platform to allow some mini pallet work to start up. With this work, obviously, we intend to maintain access to the MARC and the Metro platforms as shown. There is some modifications that will be required, which we're working with the county on those revised alignments. In here, you can see it's the same photo, but you can see highlighted the route that's currently in place, and then there's a detour that will be taken into effect once we demolish the existing bridge that you see highlighted there with the two red dots. So we've already had multiple meetings again with the county. We've put up all our detour signs. And as soon as we have all our approvals in place, which again, like I said, we're hoping that it'll be next month, we should be able to start all this work. And public access will always be maintained. That is the number one key. We have a lot of coordination discussions with all the stakeholders to ensure that public access is maintained at all times. We've also started, this is the Purple Line library station. So we have completely enclosed ourselves within the library. Again, this is also another area that we've had significant amount of coordination with the county. We have now delineated our work zone from the rest of the pedestrian traffic flow. We are now excavation. It has completed, and we're now in the process of starting our utility work within the station. And as soon as the utility work within the station is done, we'll also turn this station over, and that'll be working on in parallel with the Purple Line Station on Silver Springs. We had agreements on how we would maintain access to the pedestrians through the library and with the local businesses. So that work is well on its way. There's been a significant amount of collaboration with the community, especially on Bonifant. As you guys know, our alignment goes right through the heart of Bonifant, which does impact quite a bit of the community through there. But we have had a significant amount of outreach and collaborating with the community on ensuring that their concerns are addressed as best as possible. Here on Bonifant, because the MOT has already been deployed, there's significant amount of traffic and pedestrian work that has impacted this intersection at Georgia and Bonifant. That has been ongoing. The crosswalks have been removed, and pedestrians have been detoured one block to Fire Avenue. Bonifant Street is open, only in one direction, and right now our goal is to get a storm drain and what we call a duct bank, which is all the utility infrastructure for the train system, is the main heart of what's happening right now in Bonifant. Also down Wayne, we have already started the demolition and reconstruction of the bridge over Sligo Creek. So you can see here, we've already deployed all our environmental controls, which now allow us to proceed with the demolition. We have implemented the traffic switch, so right now there's only a one lane in each direction on Bonifant. And if you see, there's already catenary work. Foundations have been started to be installed for the OCS foundations. You'll see a significant amount of sewer work that's ongoing. And also we've started the storm drain work down Wayne Avenue. Here shows the pedestrian traffic flow that we developed together with SHA on how to ensure pedestrian traffic flow around the operations of our demo, of our bridge. And so far they will always be maintained. And that work zone will be there through 2024 is when we hope to complete the construction of the Sligo Wayne Avenue Bridge. It's hard to tell on this, but basically this shows what our MOT Wayne Avenue traffic switch is, which reduced the traffic to one lane in each direction. Basically, we are working on the north side of the roadway from Dale down to Sligo, and we're working both on the north and south side of Wayne from Fenton down to Dale. This was part of our mitigation measures to try to work on both sides of the street. Obviously, we have to maintain one side open at all times for pedestrian traffic flow. And there's a couple of impacts to the traffic. There will be no left-hand turn on Wayne Avenue on Sligo Creek. But all in all, everything's in place, and we now are full bore working down Wayne Avenue. Also in the tunnel, we've spent quite a bit of time doing due diligence, cleaning the whole tunnel, and here you can see a photo of our rail. Our rail installation has already started within the tunnel. And also at the exit of the tunnel, which is what we call Manchester Station, we began installing all our temporary supportive excavation in preparation for the construction of the Manchester Place Station, which will continue on pretty much after the excavation is complete, which should be within the next month. And that's pretty much a brief summary. There's a lot going on, but basically the name of the game is get as much storm drain in the ground as we can, so that we can then do our traffic switches to allow the real estate needed for the center portion for the rail alignment.
Great, so I'll take it from here. We heard earlier today about the importance of business and community engagement. We know that's a big part of our job with the Purple Line. We know residents and businesses have been impacted for years, and they're kind of starting to get to the top of what they can take, and that outreach is more important now than ever, particularly as this team really ramps up, and we're going to start to see a lot of progress. Unfortunately, progress can mean impacts, but people are going to be able to see improvements really soon, I think, very demonstrably. Some of the bridges we talked about, it's really exciting you can now, anywhere along the alignment, really see, oh, that's where the train's going to go, because that's kind of the level we're advancing to. So we're really excited, but it does take a lot of work. So just even here today, at one point we had six members of our community outreach team with us. One went to go watch. We're actually installing the banner at the library. You saw a purple kind of wall in the photo there today. The banner that we coordinated with Montgomery County and the businesses in the area will go up. So someone left to go do that. Another community concern, but that's about half of our outreach team. 6 is probably maybe even less than half. So we are committed to communicating with the community we're here to serve and hopefully improve is our aim. So always here to take feedback. The forums we do that is things like this, reaching out to impacted residents and businesses. That can be anywhere from an email blast to literally door to door, depending on the nature of the impacts to that business or resident. We talk a lot about the businesses on Bonifant. We talk about the residents on Elm Street before the wall work. That's very much door to door with the team, some of the team members behind me. Everyone knows Carla, Ashley, Dave, Gary, Ray, others, because they are so visible in the community. So we also have newsletters. Many of you or your staff were at the community advisory team meetings we just concluded in February. So that's just some of the ways that we're proactively reaching out. And of course, then if you want to reach us, we can go to the next slide. And we do have the various means to reach out to the Purple Line team if there's a concern, an issue, or just for more information. So with that, that's what we had prepared, and we're happy to have any discussion.
Thank you. Thank you for the thorough presentation, addressing all the key points. Clearly, you're listening to the community, and that is reflected in this presentation, so I appreciate that. Typically, over the last 4 years when we've had these presentations, the question that I ask first is, are we on schedule and on budget? And the answers were never satisfactory to me, and we've seen what happened since. And in the timeline schedule, one of the very first slides, it said that passenger service will begin in fall of 2026 with the schedule under review. What are the mitigating factors that would lead to the start of the Purple Line opening? What would be the mitigating factors for that to be delayed even further?
There are a lot of risks in this project, and certainly we maintain a risk register. The risk that we're dealing with right now, of course, is utilities. But that's only the risk of this current phase. Certainly our goal is to finish the relocations and get that storm drain in, and once everything's above ground, then we move beyond that. Other risks include making sure that we have enough time with track to go back and forth and get the miles for the vehicles, and also get all the operators trained in time. That will, involve running the trains at all times, and we'll have to make sure that works. The other piece...
Is that for training purposes?
It's for training purposes, and it's also really burning in the vehicles. The vehicles are required to have hundreds of miles before they're allowed to carry passengers. So each of the 28 vehicles has to get its training, if you will. Then, of course, we have all of the what I would call solid state equipment. So getting the power, the supervisory control and data acquisition, what we call SCADA. That is the controls and reporting functions of both our control system that allows the train to run. It's also controlling our substations, and it's also all feeding into our central operations control center. Testing of computer-based systems is always a risk. Right. I think in a lot of cases, a lot of our equipment and a lot of our design is off the shelf and coming from existing vendors. However, there is no such thing as an off-the-shelf control center, because it's always dependent upon what you're controlling, and in this case, it's a new rail system. So that will be a point of risk. Another area of risk that will certainly come out is when we start looking about are all our systems communicating with each other. Another area of risk will be we have very tight restrictions on how much electromagnetic interference we can exert on the University of Maryland. When we go through their campus, that was one of our very early agreements, that we can't impact their atomic measuring equipment. I think it's atomic or nuclear measuring equipment. I forget what it is exactly, but it can't take electromagnetic interference. So we'll be testing that. As long as we're operating correctly, then that's great. If not, then we have to put additional things in place. So the reality is, every time we come to you, we'll be in a different risk phase, if you will. But what we try and do is get those risks behind us, retire those risks, and then our risk profile gets less and less as we get closer.
Well, the whole goal here is to keep moving forward.
Yes.
And to get this open as quickly as possible. And that's what we've been working towards in fits and starts. Another aspect of the question I asked about the timeline, but with regard to the budget, the renegotiated contract over the last year or so, now that we have Governor Moore in Annapolis, are there, as this program moves forward and the project continues, are there any financial risks for the county? We've already made significant investments, and as more investments are needed, are there any expectations that the county support that financially?
At this time, there are no expectations that there are additional costs to the county right now. The contributions are fixed, and were established through the memorandum of agreement. So as there are still cost risks, but they're the state's cost risks.
Okay. Very good. And the last question before I open up to colleagues, I really appreciate the attention to pedestrian safety and recognizing that as we are building a transit system for the future, there are people living and working here today, and we have to make sure that everybody feels safe. I drive up and down Wayne Avenue all the time. I typically make a left on Sligo, which I now know I will not be able to do in however many weeks. That's only temporary, correct?
It's temporary. It's temporary.
How long is temporary? That's touche. But that area needs a lot of help, and the fact that you focused much of today's presentation on that signifies that you understand it from the pedestrian perspective, the small business owner perspective, and the driver. It's hard to navigate for everybody, and so I appreciate those efforts. District Council Member.
Thank you. So most of these places are in my district, as I think all of you know. And first, I just want to say thank you. And also, I think Carla has really become a household name. So definitely, for good, I should say. I want to clarify that, for good in our area. So let's start at Silver Spring Library. Do we have an understanding of when the utility work might be coming to completion?
It's going to take at least 6 months.
At least
to be
6
able to
months.
complete the utility work in there. And as soon as that's work is, we'll be concurrently working on the station, fit out of the library.
Great. And on Bonifant Street, I know you all have been working hard, and the challenges that you have faced there. And I have put in this request before, and I understand the difficulties of having too much signage. But right now, it really still is not very clear that Bonifant is open and those businesses are open. I'm hoping, as was mentioned, the signage will go up today. But again, looking at that again, and especially if possible, having signs in multiple languages is really important for the community and for those businesses. Because in particular, Amharic is a very predominant language in our community. Many of those businesses are immigrant businesses, and so it's helpful to have signage in multiple languages. Moving on to the Wayne Avenue, and I know you showed the map for the pedestrian pathway, the change there. And we'd just like to get an update on conversations you all are having with the school there, Silver Spring International. I know when I did a tour there last month, there were safety concerns, because of how open the school is, and where the pedestrian path would basically be cutting through the campus of the school. So.
Absolutely. There have been a lot of conversations going on recently. I think there is actually a follow-up call this Wednesday that I hope you were invited to to talk about it a little bit. But over the last few weeks, we've not only heard messaging back and forth through social media or emails, but we scheduled a separate meeting that we had with the principals and the PTSA Leadership Board. So we've been talking to them a little bit more. We've come to a better understanding of their needs. We're providing more information to them, which they can distribute probably more effectively than maybe we can. You know, it's probably harder for us to get directly to the student parent population, but they have special communication blasts that they can do. So we're doing that. We started attending the monthly PTA meetings. So I think that the message is becoming clearer. We're certainly meeting closely with MCPS because I know they have their work upcoming that they want to start this summer as well. So we've been coordinating with them. We have in place the plan for coexisting, starting this summer and both getting our work done. That's in the hands of MCPS right now. We're looking forward to hearing any of their comments before we put it in place. And then we think it's going to work good.
Great. And if there's any information that you are sending out that you would like our office to do as well, it would be helpful for sending out consistent messaging to residents, and we do get very frequent inquiries from residents there, so that's helpful. One of the stations that didn't make it on your list today, and I know sometimes it gets forgotten when you come talk to Montgomery County, is the Langley-Tacoma station. And I think technically the tracks are in Montgomery County. Having been the mayor of Tacoma Park, I'm going to say this is a station that sometimes gets forgotten, but I think actually the tracks technically are in the city of Tacoma Park. But I guess the question I have there, if you have any updates, but in particular, and this is my drive home every night, is University Boulevard. And I understand the utility work and the struggles you all have, but the potholes, the lack of demarcation of where the lanes are it's truly dangerous. And I'm glad that we have more daylight hours now in the evening. But if there is anything that we can do, because there is a stretch from Piney Branch, up to New Hampshire that is treacherous right now. And so if you all could please look at that, I'd appreciate it.
I think we hear their feedback and thank you. And I actually drove that stretch myself, which is not on my way home, but because of it, Friday afternoon, and scribbled up a bunch of notes myself on what I saw. And so that's something that we have heard a lot from the communities, and we are working to address. And again, we hear you, and we do need to take a second look at some of those things and just make sure we're maintaining what we have in there as well.
And if you need any specifics, I'm happy. It's like every day.
We should compare notes.
Compare notes. I tell you exactly where each one is because I kind of try and switch lanes and do all the other things. So.
But I think you raised a good point that we sort of our presentation stopped at the wrong CAT meeting. So I'll pass it to Julio, and he can probably just take us from Arliss Street down Piney and University, just sort of give us a little update.
Yeah, sure. So right on Piney Branch, we're actually doing a jack and bore on boring underneath. As we speak, that activity launched about 2 weeks ago, and hopefully they're mining as we speak underneath Piney Branch. We've also now are finalizing by the end of this month. We should be done with all the drainage on Piney and all the storm drain. As you make your bend onto University is all about storm drain. We have 6 crews right now working on University trying to get the storm drain done. Because as you guys know, until the storm drain is done, we can't push the traffic onto the enlarged right of way. So we're having all our efforts doing storm drain, and there's quite a bit of walls, retaining walls, as we cut into these parking lots and/or businesses. We have to build these retaining walls to allow the widening of the road to occur. And that's where our biggest efforts are, is get the storm drain done, get the walls done, and that will allow the shifting of the traffic so that we can get into the center, which is what we call phase 3, which is where the rail alignment goes, and all the stations go down the center of University. So it's definitely been struggles. There's quite a bit of existing utilities that are in the way that are and that we're trying to navigate and our way through them. But the work is progressing, and hopefully with the better work hours and better weather, we're going to start crewing up accordingly and take advantage of this summer as best as we can. But definitely potholes and is a big key, and we're working together right now on establishing how to handle a program to handle that.
And sorry, this is really very specific, but the signboard at the corner of University and Piney Branch, it comes and goes, and it takes away the turn lane on University, making a right onto Piney Branch. There's not a lot of lead time, like where people know when the signboard will be there and won't be there. It has been coming and going the last few weeks. You could just really look at that, because it causes such congestion right there. Because people don't really, you're going down University and you don't realize, oh, the signboard must be there tonight, so get over to your left. So that's just very, very specific ask. Thank you.
Well, and I want to echo the district council members' comments about Piney Branch and University. And about 2 years ago, I did a walking tour, and the residents in that community, heavily immigrant community, lower income community, and they are disproportionately impacted by the road conditions. And when they get a flat tire or problems to their vehicles incurred by the road condition, it is much harder for them to make amends and to fix that car. And so just want to second that sentiment there. Councilmember Balcom.
Thank you. And thank you for this presentation. One of the things I want to piggyback on is the signage and communications. Living in a construction zone is stressful for people, and the more communication, the better, and particularly for people who, for whom English is not their first language. So I think that's important, and I'd like to see more of that. But the issue, the issue of one of the great significant benefits of this project is not just Montgomery County, it's the connection for residential and commercial for the entire route. So thank you for adding the Langley-Tacoma Park, but I would also be interested when we do these updates, just in general, how are we doing for the entire project, and is the Prince George's component on track, and do you anticipate any concerns with our neighbors?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, to take it to a summary level, there's been a flurry of activities on the campus of University of Maryland. There's fencing all over the place, to put it mildly. And so certainly we're hearing from the university about their concerns, but just like University Boulevard, it's about safety. So we have to clearly delineate where people can or should not be walking, regardless of whether they're a student with earbuds and a cell phone looking down at their toes. We have to protect them. When you get outside of the University of Maryland, I would say that Kenilworth Avenue and Riverdale Road, or East-West Highway, is kind of like University Boulevard. It's a rough stretch right now, but that's because there is a lot of utility work that is going in, coming out and moving around. So that's going fairly well. And then there's a lot of work at the Glenridge Operations and Maintenance Facility as you get closer to New Carrollton, and that's really critical for us to finish that area first, because we need the tracks there so we can bring the vehicles in. So a lot of focus has been on there, and I think it's going well.
Thank you. And then just one small question. How long does it take to train the operators and the vehicles, as you said?
I don't know that exactly.
Is it negligible?
No, it's not.
Okay, so-
It's months and months of time behind the wheel.
Yeah, so I was wondering, can any of that be done off-site in conjunction, or does it have to be on this specific vehicle on this specific track?
I think in general, for them to be certified for revenue service, they would need to have miles on this alignment, because they have to understand where the grade crossings is, or where there are certain speed restrictions, or where they have to drive slower. I would imagine when Purple Line Transit Operators is hiring, that if they hire from other agencies where they've already driven a light rail vehicle, they may be skipping some familiarity training, but I would say that probably that's the negligible part.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I really appreciate this update, appreciate the focus on community engagement, making sure that our residents and business owners know what's going on in real time so that we can mitigate future problems. And am optimistic that there has been a significant course correction, and that this time we're going to get this project done on the timeline that's been presented, on the budget that's been agreed to, because our residents can't wait, our business owners can't wait, and the region is counting on this. So look forward to having more regular updates with more positive news, and until then, keep up the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, the committee is adjourned.